Our story begins on the quiet edges of a small, peaceful island, where a young girl named Marie stood in restless anticipation, overwhelmed by deep longing for her parents to return from their long journey abroad. When the horizon finally revealed their arrival, the surprise they carried with them was immense, for her mother held a newborn baby in her arms. As her mother approached her with a warm smile, she gently introduced the infant to her, speaking with great tenderness, and Marie understood that this was her newborn brother Shyon, whom she was invited to welcome with love. Her eyes sparkled with joy as she rushed toward the child and kissed him, causing the baby to react with a moment of startled confusion. Yet Marie, without hesitation, expressed her excitement with pure affection, and the infant's face soon softened with a sweet, flowing smile at the sound of her voice. 3 years passed, and Marie could be seen running lightly across the island grounds, laughing loudly and declaring her victory in a race, while Cheyion hurried behind her with clear exhaustion visible on his face. She responded with confidence, rooted in her role as the older sister. When their father arrived shortly after, Marie ran to him in delight, and he received her warmly, proud of her brightness. Cheyion also approached him, and the father expressed admiration for how reliable he had become, though Cheyion humbly insisted that his sister was the truly courageous one. Marie outwardly agreed, but deep inside she realized that Cheyion had grown mature and dependable. She admired how he helped their mother, no longer behaving like the child he once was. At times, she would catch him sitting alone, lost in deep thoughts, as if he were far older than his age, and this stirred within her a subtle, hidden jealousy. One day, Cheyion stood alone murmuring strange phrases that resembled incantations. Marie assumed that he was practicing for a play and laughed as she remembered his early childhood. Later that evening, when the family sat together for dinner, Cheyion suddenly asked his father a serious question about the existence of monsters. His father acknowledged their existence and reminded him never to leave the island under any circumstances, for the creatures beyond its borders were dangerous. He explained that if Cheyion ever encountered one, he must flee immediately and seek help from an adult. But Cheyion was not satisfied. He continued with another question about fairies and spirits, and their father assured him that fairies likely existed, though he had no knowledge of spirits. Marie remained silent, yet the astonishment written on her face clearly revealed how unbelievable she found the conversation. Cheyion pressed further, asking about magic, whether it was real and whether humans could control elements like water, fire, and air to perform extraordinary feats. Their father looked at him with deep confusion, admitting that he had never heard of anything like that. Marie's heart tightened when she saw disappointment clouding her brother's expression. She wished she could bring back the spark of excitement he hoped for, but despite his discouragement, Cheyion held on to a persistent curiosity. After a brief silence, he wondered quietly whether magic might exist even if their father had never encountered it. Their father, who was a well-read man with broad knowledge, allowed the possibility yet emphasized that he had never encountered anyone who spoke of magic as if it were truly real. He then asked Cheyion where he had learned about monsters, fairies, and magic in the first place. Cheyion offered no answer, choosing instead to remain silent. Marie, worried by the pale look on his face, moved closer and checked on him, but although he tried to reassure her, his expression betrayed deep sadness and discomfort. From that day on, Cheyion never spoke of magic again. 3 more years passed. Marie trained intensely with a wooden sword in the garden, while Cheyion watched her with admiration overflowing from his eyes. After she finished her practice and sat beside him, he asked why she trained so diligently every day. She explained that as his older sister, she had to be ready for anything to protect him. When he asked what exactly she intended to protect him from, she replied playfully that it did not matter. Whether monsters, spirits, or anything else, the duty was hers. Though the effort felt heavy at times, she loved the feeling that each day she grew stronger for his sake. She also admitted that although she was not talented in academics like him, she excelled in movement and combat. At that moment, Cheyion truly understood the driving force behind her relentless training. As dusk settled, Marie continued practicing until her friend arrived and expressed surprise that she had not grown tired yet. When her friend declined to join due to exhaustion from helping her grandmother all day, she asked about Cheyion and whether he was still studying at home. Marie confirmed that he was, and her friend remarked that the two siblings seemed to belong to completely different worlds. This comment reminded Marie of the day Cheyion had once asked about magic, and she wondered if his constant studying was tied to that curiosity. Suddenly, a strange, bright light appeared above the lake, leaving Marie and her friend frozen in shock. The next day, Marie took Cheyion to the lake. Although he hesitated, concerned about their mother's warning not to wander too far, she reassured him that the place was not dangerous and that no monsters lived there. As darkness began to fall, Cheyion worried that their mother might become upset. but Marie encouraged him to wait just a bit longer. Soon, the mysterious light appeared again above the water, astonishing Cheyion. Marie explained that these lights appeared every day after sunset, though no one knew why. She told him that she had shown them to their parents when she first saw them, but strangely they had been unable to see anything. She admitted she had been afraid that he might not see them either. Cheyion suggested that perhaps only children could see such lights, but Marie disagreed, explaining that some adults could see them, while some children could not. Certain people saw them as complete spheres of light, while others, like herself, saw them flickering rapidly as though they vanished in an instant. Cheyion found the phenomenon incredibly strange, and Marie agreed, expressing that it resembled magic. She reminded him of the time he had once wished to create things from light when he was younger, and how upset she had felt when their father dismissed his dreams as nonsense. Cheyion, touched by the memory, asked if she truly remembered that moment. She assured him that she might forget many things, but not the things that mattered to him. Her words reached deep into his heart and nearly brought him to tears, but she encouraged him to return home with calm reassurance. Before they left, Cheyion thanked her sincerely for everything she had done for him. Marie responded with warm honesty, telling him that she did not act for gratitude, but simply to see joy in his eyes. When she asked whether he was happy now, he answered with overwhelming delight that he truly was. On the following morning, Marie and Cheyion finished their breakfast with unusual eagerness and remarkable speed, surprising both of their parents. They hurried outside with their buckets in hand, returning to the lake to resume their mission. Exhaustion was already visible on Cheyion, which made Marie laugh as she teased him for becoming sluggish from spending too much time indoors. Despite her playful remark, Cheyion was far too tired to joke or argue, focusing all his attention on the urgent task ahead. Marie then asked about their next step, and Cheyion explained that he wished to investigate the glowing orbs more deeply in order to discover their true source. Marie suggested that the orbs might be emerging from the lake itself, yet Cheyion proposed another possibility, that the light could be coming from something hidden within the water. He insisted that they needed further investigation to uncover the truth. Although Marie admitted that she did not fully understand the subject, she expressed complete faith in Cheyon's instincts and her enthusiasm for helping him unravel the mystery. With eager curiosity, she asked what they were supposed to do next. Cheyion laid out their plan, explaining that they had 3 buckets. One would be filled with water, stones, and sand, another with water and plants, and the third with water and fish. Even though Marie was not entirely convinced by the idea, she agreed to follow him and carry out the plan. The siblings worked together, quickly filling the first 2 buckets. However, catching fish for the third bucket was far more difficult. As they struggled to capture one, Cheyion suddenly burst into laughter. Marie questioned him, and he revealed how happy he was to have her by his side, thanking her sincerely for supporting him. Marie reassured him that as his older sister, it was her duty to stand with him always. She added playfully that she simply had too much free time, which was why she decided to accompany him. She also admitted her excitement to learn whether magic was truly real. Cheyion promised that if he ever discovered the existence of magic, she would be the very first to know. Eventually, Marie managed to catch a fish, and they carefully placed it in the bucket. While they watched it swim, Rose, Marie's friend, appeared and approached them. After noticing Cheyion, she asked whether he was Marie's younger brother, which Marie confirmed. Cheyion greeted Rose politely, while Rose introduced herself with noticeable pride. Marie, slightly annoyed by her attitude, rolled her eyes and asked Cheyion not to take Rose's behavior seriously, insisting that she was just an ordinary girl with nothing particularly special about her. Rose, irritated by the comment, questioned whether she was supposed to be worthless before asking what they were doing. Marie explained that they were fishing, yet Rose continued her questions, wanting to know why they had chosen this lake specifically. Marie pointed out that Cheyion was the one who understood the reason, and when Rose asked whether it was because of the glowing orbs, Cheyion confirmed it. Rose admitted that she too enjoyed visiting the lake to watch the mysterious lights. When Cheyion asked whether she knew anything about them, she explained that she did not know their source, but she simply enjoyed watching them. As the sun began to set, the glowing orbs appeared once again above the surface of the lake. However, they did not emerge from the buckets that Marie and Cheyion had prepared. This led Cheyion to conclude that the lights came from something else within the deeper parts of the water. Rose remarked that discovering everything that lived inside the lake would be extremely difficult. Driven by intense curiosity and a sharp, restless mind, Cheyion became determined to dive deeper into the mystery behind the shimmering orbs. Marie, unable to contain her own curiosity, insisted on joining him, and she leaped into the water with him to help in the search. In the midst of the lake, Shyon managed to seize one of the orbs, discovering that it was warm to the touch, as though it held a pulse of life. Marie imitated him and captured one as well. Yet when Shyon tried to submerge his head and peer deeper underwater, he found no success. The water was completely dark, impossible to see through. Shyon began connecting ideas in his mind, concluding that the orbs could not be mere magic, but were likely tied to a living creature because their positions shifted constantly, moving as if alive. When Marie asked how he knew this, he confidently explained that their movement was irregular, which meant it had to be connected to something that breathed and moved. Afterward, they climbed out of the water. Shyon thanked Marie for her help, yet she responded with warm naturalness, saying that there was no reason for him to thank her at all, for they were family, and it was her right as his sister to support him always. Soon after, Rose continued fishing and eventually succeeded in catching a female fish after significant effort. She commented that females usually hid in the deeper parts of the water, making them harder to reach. She placed the female fish in the bucket with the male. At that moment, an unexpected event occurred. The glowing orbs reappeared in the water once more. As Shyon watched the scene intently, understanding suddenly dawned on him. He realized that the glowing orbs were connected to the courtship rituals of the fish. When Marie asked about the meaning of courtship rituals, Rose explained simply that it was the way a male expressed his feelings to a female so they could begin forming a family together. With childlike innocence, Marie looked at Shyon and expressed her desire to marry him when they grew older. Shyon, overwhelmed by embarrassment, felt his face grow hot as he insisted that such a thing was impossible, for siblings could never marry. On the following day, Marie carried a deep sadness after being scolded by her mother for the words she had said to her brother. She went to Shyon, wondering if she had been wrong, and he realized with sudden clarity that her promise had awakened a hidden magical force within him. He understood that the strong bond between them and their unwillingness to be separated had triggered a magical reaction. Embarrassed, Marie fled in confusion, leaving Shyon standing alone, unable to believe what had happened. As he thought deeply, he concluded that the people of this world had simply not discovered magic yet, and because of that, they never learned to use it. He felt certain that he would be the one to ignite the beginning of magic here. A sudden wave of memory pulled him back into the life he had before, when he had eagerly awaited his 30th birthday, after hearing strange rumors claiming that anyone who reached that age would gain magical power. He counted down the final seconds with excitement, ready to test it. But no matter how hard he tried, no flame appeared, leaving him crushed. Still, he refused to stop and pushed himself forward with stubborn determination. Later, in a quiet night, he sat alone in his room with an old, dusty book of magic. He read an incantation with hope, waiting for even the smallest reaction, yet nothing happened. The silence in the room reminded him of how empty the world felt without magic. Disappointed and weary, he lay down to sleep. But as he prepared to rest, his heart suddenly stopped, and he collapsed, overwhelmed by the final memories of a life where he tried hard to grow and improve, yet never found true joy, except in the idea of magic itself. That idea alone had carried him through life, even without proof. With one last memory, his consciousness faded. He awakened in a new life, remembering the painful words his current father had once told him about the non-existence of magic. He tried to ignore it and devote himself to work and study, yet even in this life, his dreams slowly crumbled, until, without warning, a real surge of magical energy erupted from within him. He tried again to create a fireball, but nothing formed. He reminded himself to stay cautious. One spark did not prove that magic truly existed. When Marie entered his room, he felt that her presence came at the perfect moment. As she spoke about dinner, she agreed to stay a little longer, and under his intense gaze, she became flustered. When he expressed his feelings toward her, another burst of magical energy escaped him, confirming his suspicion that emotional expression triggered the power. Marie, however, became upset and believed he was using her for personal gain. He insisted that his words were sincere, but she struggled to accept them until she finally believed him and begged him not to repeat it. When she asked what he had discovered, he explained that the energy appeared whenever he expressed emotions, though he knew this could not be the only way. He then focused on happy memories, and as his joy grew stronger, the energy emerged again. Marie, filled with excitement, told him that even if the only ability he possessed was glowing, it was still wonderful. Shyon felt a powerful sense of accomplishment, believing that the two of them had proven that magic existed in this world. He compared the energy to an electric spark, like the shock produced by a certain fish, and Marie welcomed his discovery with pride. He analyzed everything he had experienced, understanding that the energy surfaced whenever emotions intensified. Yet he remained frustrated, unable to form the glowing orbs he had seen before. He suspected his magic was still too weak to shape them, and the thought irritated him, especially when he remembered how easily the fish could create them. After a long silence filled with deep thought, he felt close to a dead end, but refused to give up. With renewed determination, he declared to himself that he would continue until he learned how to use magic. As he reflected on the experiment with the fish, a sudden realization struck him like a flash of light. He gathered his energy and tested it by striking the wall with his glowing hand. The result was small and weak, only a faint light and a slight injury, but to Cheyion it was a meaningful step forward. Later he went to the garden to join training with his father, Marie, and Rose. His father asked if he would participate, but Cheyion, uninterested in combat, felt no purpose in learning it. His father explained that the training was not meant for fighting others, but for defending against the monsters outside the city. Rose expressed her desire to learn for her own safety, and Marie supported her enthusiastically, while Cheyion remained dissatisfied. His only wish was to study magic freely. During the training, Cheyion quickly collapsed from exhaustion, prompting his father to remark on his weakness. Cheyion had no response but agreement. Meanwhile, Rose performed impressively, earning praise. The difference between her ability and his was clear. When it was Marie's turn, she entered the field with great excitement, moving with speed and strength that shocked everyone, including Cheyion and Rose. She executed a clever maneuver, but her father countered and defeated her. Despite the loss, Marie accepted his words with optimism as he praised her courage and assured her that she was on the right path. Both Shyon and Rose were proud and amazed by her progress. Cheyion returned to his magical training, focusing all his energy into his hand once more. Despite his effort, he failed to achieve what he wanted, and frustration slowly filled him. He remembered how he once could only perform the technique twice a day, whereas now he could repeat it 20 times. Yet it was clear that he had reached a limit he could not surpass. He realized that improving further required a change in his training method, and he resolved to search for a new approach. As he considered his options, his father appeared and invited him to accompany him to Atoria to collect items from the blacksmith. Cheyion accepted eagerly, tired of staying in the same place. The city of Atoria was medium-sized but full of movement and life, and everything in it felt new. He enjoyed the crowded streets, though his father warned him not to wander off, knowing how easily he could get lost. In the midst of the city's lively atmosphere, Cheyion felt slight disappointment. He had hoped the trip would open new doors and help him discover magical knowledge, but all he found himself doing was assisting his father with errands. When they reached the blacksmith, the man welcomed them as if they were family. He had crafted a custom sword for Marie, designed to be light and slightly shorter to suit her. Marie was overjoyed, admiring how perfectly it fit her, but her excitement quickly turned to guilt as she realized Cheyion received nothing. Although he reassured her that the sword was simply a birthday gift for her, and that he had no interest in owning one, she insisted that he should take something as well, believing he needed to be more selfish. During their walk, Cheyion noticed a man holding a cage with a small fairy inside. The sight caught his attention, but when his father saw it, his expression hardened and he forbade Cheyion from approaching. Later, Cheyion and Marie returned to their training. Marie was delighted when Cheyion surpassed his previous record, and he acknowledged that her support was the reason for his progress, though he still felt unsatisfied. He admitted to himself that although he controlled his magic better, all he could produce was light. Marie tried to lift his spirits, noting that his light now carried warmth, yet he wished for more. Fire, lightning, anything stronger. He believed that understanding the link between emotion and magic would help him grow. He kept thinking about the fairy he had seen, feeling that fairies were part of nature, and that there must be a reason his family opposed interacting with them. Before he could think further, Marie grew upset at being ignored, and he apologized to her, turning his attention back just as they heard loud noises from downstairs. They hurried down to see what was happening. A crowd had gathered, and several people were speaking urgently with his father, asking for weapons. When Cheyion asked about the situation, his father confirmed that trolls had appeared. Cheyion felt excited at the idea of studying them, hoping it might help his magic, but the atmosphere around him was tense, making him realize how dangerous trolls truly were. His father ordered the villagers to gather the women, elders, and children inside the house, while those capable of fighting prepared for battle. Marie tried to comfort Cheyion, but her trembling hand betrayed her fear. His father reassured everyone that only 2 trolls had been spotted, and that they would deal with them quickly. Cheyion asked whether trolls possessed enough strength or intelligence to climb to the upper floor, and his father explained that trolls were foolish creatures unable to reach such places. Cheyion suggested hiding everyone upstairs for safety, and his father agreed immediately. Everyone gathered on the second floor with Cheyon's family. He tracked how long his father and the men had been gone. A storm raged outside, and tension filled the house. Suddenly, one of the trolls reached the home and looked through the empty basement, finding no one. Enraged, it began smashing the front door, and the sound echoed violently throughout the house. Cheyion and the others froze in fear. The noise stopped for a moment, leading everyone to believe the troll had left. But the silence was broken by the shattering of a window. The troll had found another way inside. Marie, trembling, quietly asked whether the troll could reach them. But Cheyion urged her to stay silent, knowing that even a small noise could draw the creature to them. The troll began climbing the stairs to the second floor and stopped at the door of their hiding room. Everyone held their breath in terror. After hearing no sound, the troll slowly moved away, giving them only a brief moment of relief. A sudden thunderous impact shook the home, sending fear through everyone as screams filled the air. The troll returned and shattered the door with overwhelming force. When it stepped inside, its massive and terrifying form froze the entire group in paralyzing fear. At that moment, Cheyion realized how foolish he had been to wish for the chance to study such a dangerous creature. Cheyon's mother placed herself in front of her children, trying desperately to protect them. The troll released a strange, mocking laugh, and Cheyion understood then that the creature was not mindless at all. It simply recognized its own strength. His mother collapsed in fear. Despite her terror, Marie stepped forward with her sword, determined to defend her family and keep her promise to protect Cheyion. But the troll easily deflected her attack, knocking the sword aside and throwing her to the ground. As it moved to kill her, Cheyon's mother used the last of her strength to shield Marie, taking the blow across her back. The troll advanced again, preparing to strike the finishing attack. Cheyion, lying on the ground and unable to move, felt an overwhelming sense of failure. But as the troll approached the two people he loved, he refused to accept defeat. Driven by desperation, he launched himself forward and grabbed the troll's hand with all the strength he had left. He believed it was useless until he sensed something familiar. The troll's body carried a magical energy similar to the one within him. The villagers were stunned, though only Marie and his mother could see the magic radiating from Cheyion. Cheyion focused all of his energy into the hand gripping the creature. At first, the troll reacted with amusement, but as Cheyon's magic intensified, flames began to burn along the troll's arm. In agony, the troll hurled Cheyion across the room, slamming him into the wall. Even injured, Cheyion rose again, driven by the last remnants of determination. He leapt onto the troll's back and channeled every bit of magic he could muster into his hand as it pressed against the troll's skull. Fire engulfed the creature, and its screams filled the room until it finally collapsed, dead. For a moment, Cheyion stood in disbelief. The villagers stared at him silently, unsure and afraid after witnessing what he had done. He felt the weight of their fearful stares until Rose stepped forward, offering reassurance. The comfort was brief. Attention shifted to his mother, who was trembling in pain. Marie tried to reach her, but Cheyion and Rose stopped her, realizing the severity of the injury. Cheyion saw the pale color of his mother's face and the heavy bleeding, and knew that stopping the blood loss was their only hope. He placed her on a bed and asked the villagers for assistance. No one responded with medical experience, forcing him to act. He requested someone who knew basic sewing, and one woman raised her hand. He instructed others to bring sewing tools, alcohol, and clean cloth. A young child approached him and thanked him for saving them, but Cheyion remained focused on his mother. With the tools gathered, Cheyion and the woman began. His hands shook as he uncovered the wound, terrified that troll claws might be poisoned. He knew stitching the wound was their only chance. The woman hesitated, unfamiliar with such a method, but Cheyion explained the necessity with urgent precision. She resisted at first, until his desperate plea moved her to act. They cleaned the wound and stitched it closed with difficulty, yet the bleeding slowed and her condition improved slightly. Cheyion thanked the woman, who admitted she only followed his instructions. She asked whether his mother would recover, and he replied that they would have to watch her closely. At that moment, Cheyon's father and a few warriors returned, appearing victorious, but the victory was shallow. Troll tracks surrounded the area, revealing evidence of a much larger group approaching. On the following day, a physician arrived to examine Cheyon's mother and confirmed that although the wound was large, it had fortunately spared both bone and vital organs. Marie, overwhelmed by guilt, approached her mother to apologize. Her mother gently held her hand, assuring her that she had acted with courage while trying to protect everyone and that she should feel proud rather than ashamed. For the first time since the incident, Cheyyon's father spoke, his voice marked with curiosity and disbelief. He questioned Shyon about how he had accomplished everything the villagers described and how he possessed any medical knowledge at all. Shyon, unable to reveal the full truth, answered with uncertainty, offering no clear explanation. His father remained puzzled and pressed further, asking how he had defeated the troll and what had caused the burn marks on its body. Shyon found himself unable to respond. His father immediately suspected the truth and asked whether it had been magic. Shyon, shocked, wondered how his father had come to that conclusion, but the man explained that Shyon's sudden interest in unusual topics had led him to consider the possibility. Shyon hesitated, asking whether his father would believe him if he spoke honestly, and the man admitted he could not promise belief but wished to trust his children. At that moment, Marie, eager and proud, interrupted to express her confidence in Shyon, revealing that he had been researching magic. The revelation startled their father, who warned Shyon that such matters could put him in danger and must not be discussed openly. When Shyon asked whether those who were different faced persecution, his father confirmed it and repeated his warning. The idea struck Shyon deeply, filling him with confusion and sorrow, but Marie defended him passionately, insisting that he had worked tirelessly and that the entire village was safe because of what he had done. Although their father acknowledged Shyon's role in saving lives, he maintained that he could not allow him to pursue something potentially dangerous. Marie, frustrated, argued that no one even knew whether magic was dangerous at all. Their father responded that a power strong enough to kill trolls could not be dismissed lightly. Reflecting on his long struggle and determination, Shyon declared his intention to continue studying magic. His father, troubled, questioned whether he understood the risk, but Shyon explained that giving up would condemn him to unhappiness, for magic was his dream. His father insisted that he was too young to make such decisions, but Shyon was certain that his resolve would not change. A heavy silence followed. Shyon, seizing the moment, added that if his pursuit endangered his father, the man could choose to disown him. The remark saddened Marie, yet Shyon remained firm. His father asked whether he was truly willing to continue even if everyone rejected him, and Shyon, without hesitation, affirmed that he would. After a long pause, his father surrendered to the situation. He allowed Shyon to continue his research but demanded regular reports on every discovery and warned that if he ever found Shyon crossing into dangerous territory, he would intervene immediately. Shyon was surprised by this leniency, and their father admitted that there was little else he could do when his son was so determined. Marie celebrated the decision with joy. Later, their father lit a pile of wood and asked Shyon whether the amount was sufficient. After confirming it, Shyon decided to attempt a new magical experiment. He gathered energy in his hand and approached the flames. The fire suddenly shifted into a blue color, reacting to the magic forming in his hand. Alarmed, his father extinguished the fire to protect him, believing the reaction to be extremely dangerous. Marie rushed to check on her brother, and Shyon explained that he had learned something important. Magical energy could merge with natural energy, and when this happened, the fire changed in response to it. Their father, though unable to see the magic itself, acknowledged that he had witnessed the change and had no choice but to believe what he saw. Marie, feeling left out, remarked on how they seemed to understand each other while she struggled to grasp the concept. But Shyon reassured her, reminding her that she had been the one who helped him discover magic in the first place. Soon after, Shyon, entertained by the possibilities, imagined himself summoning a massive fireball, and his father explained that this excitement always surfaced when Shyon uncovered new aspects of magic. The experiments continued repeatedly, with his father standing by, ready to intervene should anything go wrong. When exhaustion finally set in, his father suggested a short rest, and Shyon thanked him. At that moment, Rose arrived and asked whether he was conducting a new magical test. After he explained the situation, she was astonished. He promised to show her later, but mentioned that his father now required him to perform magic only under supervision. Rose admired the support his father showed, believing him to be exceptionally caring. Shyon expressed his gratitude to Rose for her kindness during the troll attack, acknowledging that she had brought him comfort and stability during that terrifying moment. She asked about Marie, noticing how intensely she trained. Shyon believed that the recent events had left her feeling responsible, yet he felt confident that she would overcome it. Rose reminded him that Marie relied on him and needed his support. Meanwhile, Marie, still affected by what had happened, continued to train with increased determination, pushing herself harder with each passing moment. Cheyion began explaining the observations he had gathered about the magical energy he possessed. His first conclusion was that this energy amplified the size and strength of fire whenever its concentration increased. His second finding appeared when he experimented with different heat sources, noticing that intense heat caused his hand to come dangerously close to igniting. The third observation emerged when he touched fire with an ordinary amount of magical energy. In such cases, his hand ignited only with normal flames rather than the blue ones. His final discovery revealed that when his hand was covered by a material, he could still gather and channel fire through the covering without damaging it. From these tests, Cheyion determined that the power he currently held was dangerous and lacked any practical application for now. His father viewed the experiment as fascinating, but believed that controlling the element of fire would be extremely difficult. Cheyion, however, felt confident that he could manage it if he learned to gather the energy at a small distance from his hand rather than directly on it. Marie unexpectedly claimed she could perform a similar action, surprising Cheyion, and Rose soon demonstrated that she could too. Their ability amazed him, and he perceived them both as exceptionally talented. With their help, he repeatedly attempted to gather the magical energy away from his hand. After many failed attempts, he finally succeeded in collecting the energy and releasing it. Although he felt thrilled, his father still could not see the magic clearly. Determined to prove the result, Cheyion stepped outside and returned with a lighter. Instead of igniting it normally, he gathered magic in his hand and directed it toward the device, producing a clear fireball. The sight excited everyone around him. Deep inside, Cheyion felt overwhelmed by the realization that the magic he had dreamed of in his previous life was now real before his eyes. He named this energy Flame, though he admitted that he still could not use it offensively. Later, he joined his father in harvesting their crops. A month had passed since the last attack. Cheyion continued training but struggled with fatigue, realizing that each use of his new magic drained his energy rapidly. Meanwhile, Marie pushed herself through intense training as well, to the point where her hands were covered in calluses. Their father eventually insisted she rest, reminding her that excessive effort could cause harm. Cheyion also urged her to stop, but she ignored both of them. His frustration rose until he shouted at her, leaving her hurt and walking away. Their father reassured Cheyion that she was overwhelmed by responsibility and would recover in time. Later, Cheyion sat with his father and asked about electricity, but the man had never heard of such a concept. Cheyion compared it to lightning and wondered whether any creature or plant in this world could produce something similar. Feeling that his fire-based experiments had reached a limit, he decided to pursue a new direction. When he shared this thought with his father, the man dismissed the possibility, deepening Cheyon's disappointment. Shortly after, his father suggested a trip to Azdirek, and Cheyion asked for Marie to join them. She refused, explaining that she had work to finish, and although she wished them well, her injured pride remained obvious. In the city of glass, Cheyion and his father met the blacksmith, who confirmed the existence of a substance known as lightning ore. When asked how it could be obtained, the man explained that the material was extremely difficult to handle. It was not rare, but its immense weight and unstable energy made transportation dangerous. This intrigued Cheyion, who silently wondered how anyone could safely move a metal that generated electrical energy. He also asked the blacksmith about trees that produced a sticky white sap, only to learn that no such plants existed in this region, leading him to realize that rubber trees did not exist here. The second possible insulator he considered was glass, though he was unsure of its strength. He asked the blacksmith whether he possessed any rock-like glass. After describing its appearance, the man presented something he called paper crystal. The crystal matched what Cheyion needed. When he touched it, he recognized its potential as a lightning insulator, though he had no idea how to shape or modify it. The blacksmith expressed confusion at the boy's unusual thinking, but Cheyon's father pointed out that his son never thought like an ordinary child. Cheyion then asked whether a larger piece existed, and the blacksmith directed him to the trade district, where a sizable piece could be purchased for 4,000 gold coins. The price stunned Cheyion, and he realized that such an amount could support a family in great luxury. Nevertheless, his father immediately insisted they go to the district to acquire it. When Cheyion questioned whether his father truly intended to buy it, the man affirmed it without hesitation. Cheyion found the cost excessive, but his father reassured him that children should not worry about prices, that he should simply ask for whatever he needed, and if it was possible, his father would provide it, and if not, he would say so. Filled with gratitude, Cheyion accompanied him, and together they successfully obtained the lightning ore. Shyon began experimenting with the lightning ore, convinced that if his assumptions were correct, the results he sought would finally appear. His mother watched with happiness as her son applied magic with growing confidence. When he gathered magical energy and directed it into the ore, the two forces reacted violently, and an explosion followed. His father assumed it was another failed attempt and tried to reassure him, unaware that Shyon's laughter meant he had discovered something new. While his father remained confused, Shyon explained that the reaction proved his magic did not ignite his hand when interacting with the ore, revealing that his energy possessed properties far beyond simple combustion. This meant the possibilities he once imagined were now within reach. Later, alone in his room, Shyon found himself discouraged as he contemplated how to convert electrical energy into something he could release freely. He wished for a method that did not depend on forming standard energy spheres. By imagining a different structure, he discovered that the magic shaped itself exactly as he envisioned, and the success filled him with excitement. When he went to share the discovery with Marie, he realized she had removed her bandages, which made him anxious. He found her by the river, training with such intensity that her wooden staff snapped in her hands. She was surprised to see him, but he explained that he had come to apologize, feeling remorse for not being there when she had needed him. Marie, however, admitted that she had been struggling with jealousy. She had trained endlessly to protect him, yet when danger arrived, she had been powerless, and it was he who saved them. She felt grateful for their survival, yet disappointed in herself. She affirmed her affection for him despite the frustration she carried. Rose, standing nearby, observed their closeness with surprise. Shyon realized that their bond had strengthened from the moment they opened their hearts to one another, and from that day forward, Marie was unable to separate herself from him. Continuing his experiments, Shyon learned that magical energy could be expanded into any shape but weakened significantly when spread out. He then attempted the opposite, compressing the energy, making it smaller and far more concentrated. When he ignited this condensed form with a spark, it erupted in a powerful explosion that shocked both his father and Marie. The success exceeded even his own expectations, and he named the technique flare, considering it a major breakthrough. Encouraged, he tried once more to interact with the lightning ore, but the magical energy he released proved too weak to affect it, leaving him briefly disappointed. Yet he remained satisfied that he had at least unlocked the ability to release magic on command. Gathering a larger amount of energy, he directed it into the ore again. This time, the resulting explosion threw him to the ground. Marie and Rose rushed to him, frightened, and he reassured them that he was unharmed. Marie, still shaken, noted that the lightning had behaved unpredictably and rebounded toward him instead of dispersing. Shyon recognized that the ore's internal energy had attracted the magic, but he admitted to himself that he did not yet fully understand the phenomenon. He sensed that the potential of magic was limitless, but his understanding remained incomplete, and he knew he needed more creativity to advance further. At that moment, Shyon's father arrived with Glass, carrying stones that they placed on the table. Shyon noticed that Glass appeared troubled. His father explained that Glass had used Shyon's method to extract lightning ore, a process believed to be impossible until now. Glass admitted that he had used the idea without permission in hopes of profiting from smuggling the ore and apologized. Shyon, however, saw no issue in the matter, surprising Glass, who had expected anger rather than indifference. The problem, however, extended beyond the extraction. When they visited Glass's storage, they discovered that the ore emitted unstable amounts of energy, making it extremely difficult to store. Many stones had become useless because they could not release or contain their energy safely, causing buyers to abandon them. Glass, discouraged, hoped Shyon could find a solution. While Shyon's father felt sympathy for his friend, Shyon remained silent for a moment before deciding he would help. Glass, relieved, showed him how the ore reacted when arranged closely together. As he pushed two stones nearer, a sudden electrical discharge jumped between them. Shyon concentrated on the phenomenon. Realizing how the reaction worked, Glass then revealed a stone he had created by melting several lightning ores into a single block. Shyon tested whether it emitted energy or produced sparks when combined with others, but nothing happened. Shyon realized that once lightning ore was melted, its energy disappeared. When he asked Glass about the exact moment the energy faded, he learned that the ore still contained power after being broken, but that power vanished during the melting stage. With this, the mechanism became clear to him. He then prepared another test and signaled for Glass's father to proceed. The man agreed, and Shyon released a controlled flame using his magical fire, Glass was astonished, but Cheyion, maintaining his composure, instructed him to continue. Glass, overwhelmed with disbelief, questioned how Cheyion had produced flame from his bare hand. Cheyion simply identified it as magic, and silently waited for his father's approval to elaborate. His father confirmed that they had known about Cheyon's abilities, and Glass, stunned, admitted that he would never have believed it without witnessing it himself. After an hour, Glass completed the formation of a new lightning stone, and once two of the newly shaped stones were placed close together, a spark ignited between them. Cheyion felt immense satisfaction. The magical fire had influenced the material successfully. Everyone congratulated him, and he named the new enhanced material Iron Lightning, believing it would become highly valuable. They immediately began producing sheets of iron lightning. Cheyion worked tirelessly for 3 days without rest, creating all the items he needed: illumination crystals, magical igniters, and similar devices. His father expressed deep pride in him, and even Marie, who previously struggled with jealousy, praised him without any trace of resentment. Glass thanked Cheyion, admitting that his level of creativity was beyond anything he had imagined. He seemed prepared to say more, but Cheyon's father quickly interrupted him. Sensing something unspoken, Cheyion recalled the unfinished words earlier, words that hinted at an offer of aid for Cheyion and his family. The offer soon became direct, and Glass pledged support whenever needed. Marie, confused, questioned the meaning behind it, and Cheyion, smiling, stated that a new idea had formed in his mind during the crafting process. An idea capable of changing everything he intended to create. Over time, Glass's products, iron lightning plates, lighting crystals, and magical igniters, became highly successful, selling rapidly and generating enormous profit. Later, Cheyion conducted another experiment. He demonstrated that ordinary flame required oxygen to stay lit, extinguishing immediately when covered. He then posed a comparison between normal flame and magical flame. Marie believed the magical flame would not extinguish, while Rose expected the opposite. Cheyion ignited a candle using his magical fire, covered it, and revealed that the mystical flame remained burning. Marie celebrated her correct assumption, but Cheyion was more fascinated by the lesson itself. It meant that magical fire functioned independently of oxygen, indicating a fundamental difference from natural flame. A sudden idea struck him. He released a flame and asked Marie to direct her magical energy toward it. The collision between her magic and his flame triggered a powerful explosion, knocking her to the ground. He rushed to her side, relieved when she assured him she was unharmed. He admitted to himself that he had expected only an intensified flame, not an explosion of such magnitude. Determined to understand why, he began analyzing the event. After long thought, he performed another test by channeling his energy into lightning ore, expecting a similar reaction, but nothing happened. The absence of an explosion revealed the missing factor, and he finally understood the principle. Rose, surprised, questioned the nature of magic itself. Cheyion recognized that magic was indeed magical energy, but it interacted with air as a medium. Magical fire persisted without oxygen, but when he tested lightning magic, he felt resistance from the air itself. The patterns confirmed that magical energy behaved like air, or pressure, influencing its surroundings rather than relying on chemical properties. The realization marked a major breakthrough in his research. Overwhelmed with excitement, Cheyion released his characteristic, strange laughter, the one he always produced when making a major discovery. Rose and Marie shared in his enthusiasm, pleased to witness his growth and the promise of even greater advancements. Cheyion had requested a special item, a pair of gloves crafted from leather and paper crystal. Once he wore them, he began his experiments immediately. His first successful result was the generation of magical fire, an ignition so intense that it triggered a violent explosion, shocking everyone around him. After that, he attempted a lightning discharge, producing a focused and powerful electric beam. He stood with overwhelming pride, realizing that his research had reached a completely new stage. His father watched him closely, a mixture of astonishment and pride showing in his expression. Marie rushed to him and celebrated his progress with genuine enthusiasm, calling it the most incredible thing she had ever seen. The praise moved Cheyion to tears. His achievements felt unreal even to himself. Both Marie and Rose hurried to comfort him, while his parents and Glass observed from a distance, deeply touched by how far he had come. Cheyion pressed forward with serious training. He managed to break a wooden plank using a powerful shock spell, and the reaction from Marie and Rose was pure joy. He reminded them modestly that the improvement came from gradually becoming more accustomed to the spell. He then thanked both of them for their constant support. He soon set his focus on a new technique he named Composite Magica, a method designed to amplify and concentrate magical energy by combining two magical elements. He believed it would enhance his spells and strengthen their output. Yet despite several attempts, he found no clear results from merging certain energies. Even so, his determination remained unshaken. He tried a fresh idea and went down to the river to conduct another experiment. He repeated a particular spell again and again, failing each time. The continuous failure left him frustrated, and Marie and Rose struggled to understand what he was attempting. Cheyion reviewed what he already knew. The earlier experiment had proven that magical energy behaved like air, so he wanted to observe its interaction with water. However, nothing happened when he directed his magic toward the river. Water showed no visible response, unlike fire and lightning. He began explaining the technical details, and both girls became completely lost in his scientific ramblings, something they had grown used to over time. Unwilling to give up, Cheyion tried again. This time, he succeeded in making the water float. Marie reacted with excitement, recognizing that magical energy was interacting with water after all. Rose wondered if this meant he would eventually wield water magic. Although delighted, Cheyion understood that the effect remained weak and far from usable, and he needed much more mastery before water magic could become a reliable tool. Suddenly, he released a burst of magical energy that startled both girls. As he attempted to compress water into his hand, he successfully formed a floating ring of water. Marie, astonished, rushed forward and tried to understand where the water had come from. Cheyion clarified that he had expanded his magical field and gathered moisture directly from the air. With that, he named the new spell Aqua. Both Marie and Rose attempted the spell themselves, and the water they produced splashed back into their faces, causing laughter between them. Cheyion felt deeply satisfied knowing he had taught them how to use an entirely new category of magic. Later, while riding with his family, Cheyion drifted into deep thought. He sensed that the right moment to begin the second phase of his magical research would come soon, but it was not the time yet. Sometime after, Cheyion and Glass headed to the guild to accept a mission. Glass informed him that he needed to register first. Marie and Rose watched nearby, as Cheyion firmly insisted on joining a mission to determine whether monsters could be affected by magic. Glass tried convincing Marie to stay behind, but she refused. She believed that avoiding danger now would make her run from it for the rest of her life, and she wanted to grow stronger. Rose, equally determined, chose to stand with her. Before they left, Cheyion asked Glass to keep this mission a secret from his family. Upon reaching the guild, Glass introduced himself as a platinum rank adventurer and requested 3 registration forms. Their families, who had followed in silence, stepped forward at that moment. Cheyon's father revealed that he too had come to support them and casually disclosed that he was a diamond rank adventurer, a rank so rare that it left the entire guild speechless. Without hesitation, he instructed the staff to complete the process and stated that discussions would take place later. Once outside, he asked the 3 of them if they had anything they wished to say. Embarrassed, they apologized. He sighed, admitting that he had already suspected something. Cheyion asked whether he had known about their plan to register for monster hunting. His father explained that he did not know their exact intentions, but he recognized that something was being hidden, especially since Marie had avoided eye contact for days. Tears welled in Marie's eyes as she apologized again. Glass stepped in and argued that the children had thought carefully before acting, urging Cheyon's father not to be harsh with them. However, the father's stern expression made it clear that Glass was the last person who should defend them. After regaining his composure, he asked them to explain their plan. When he heard it, he admitted that they were not acting recklessly. Instead, they had a clear purpose. He respected that they had chosen to undertake the mission with a responsible adult, and even if Glass had not been present, he stated that he would have ensured their safety himself. The group soon began their mission. When they encountered a group of 4 monsters, Cheyon's father stepped forward alone and faced them without hesitation. The moment the creatures attacked, he cut through all of them with overwhelming speed, eliminating the threat before any could react. Glass, who watched from behind, was astonished and quietly admitted that this level of power was truly monstrous. Cheyon's father, however, simply stated that the group was safe now. Cheyion remained frozen, unable to process what he had just witnessed. He had always known his father was strong, But the precision and speed of his movements far exceeded anything he had imagined, leaving him feeling small and powerless. Before he had time to recover, a second wave of monsters appeared. His father assessed them calmly, noting that they were no stronger than goblins, and declared it their opportunity to experience real combat for the first time. Marie looked tense and hesitant as the monsters prepared to attack. Their father quickly positioned them and explained that these monsters had no long-range attacks. Cheyion immediately understood that magic would be effective. He launched a powerful spell, wiping out several enemies in one strike. But before he could celebrate, another monster blindsided him from behind. Marie, acting on instinct, saved him from the deadly blow. At the same moment, Rose fought with surprising skill and improvement. Soon, Cheyion, Marie, and Rose regrouped and executed a coordinated attack, defeating the remaining monsters together. Just when they believed the battle was finished, a creature emerged from the shadows and attempted to ambush them. Cheyion, reacting quickly, eliminated it before it could reach them. After confirming their safety, they acknowledged one another's efforts and expressed their gratitude. Marie, breathing heavily, felt a renewed surge of confidence. Fighting beside Cheyion made her feel stronger, and she truly believed she could face danger as long as he was with her. In that moment, Cheyion realized that blood alone did not define their bond. No matter what happened, Marie would always remain his one and only older sister in this world. Their father approached afterward and praised their performance, noting their precise coordination in battle. He announced that they would continue into a second confrontation, calling it their best chance to gain true experience. He also pointed out signs of increasing monster activity nearby and encouraged them to press on. Cheyion, still unable to understand how his father maintained such relentless speed, had no time to dwell on it before they were thrust into another fight. Each of them pushed themselves to the limit. After their victory, exhaustion overwhelmed them quickly. Marie, nearly collapsing, admitted she could not continue any longer. Their father commended their efforts once again. Glass laughed and remarked that he felt as though he had contributed almost nothing. Cheyion openly acknowledged that keeping up with their father in combat was beyond difficult. While resting, Cheyion noticed a dark cave nearby and felt compelled to explore it. Marie and Rose hesitated, but followed him despite their uneasiness. Inside, the air felt heavy and unsettling, and the darkness carried a strange, oppressive presence. Then they found something unexpected, a fairy trapped inside a cage. Cheyion moved to free her, but the fairy panicked and attempted to flee. Marie and Rose, confused by her reaction, wondered what he intended. He believed freeing her was the only correct action, and both girls immediately agreed. With careful movements, he opened the cage. The fairy stood still for a moment, stunned, as if unable to believe she was finally free. Then she shot out of the cage and vanished into the distance. They watched her soar away, amazed. None of them had ever witnessed a creature flying like that. Feeling accomplished, they returned to their camp, only to find Cheyon's father standing tensely, as though he expected something dangerous to occur. Cheyon's mother had returned as well, unnervingly quiet yet serious. When they sat before her, Cheyion and Marie froze, awaiting whatever reprimand they feared was coming. She calmly stated that she had known from the beginning that they were going on a monster hunting mission, since their father informed her before leaving. Surprised, Cheyion questioned why she'd been angry earlier. She explained that she rarely saw his father return from battle injured, and knowing his nature, she feared he would lose himself once engaged in combat. Later, Cheyion faced another group of goblins alone and used the opportunity to test a new spell he had created. By gathering a massive amount of air and wrapping it in a magical barrier, he increased the pressure to its limit, generating a powerful storm that knocked the goblins off their feet. He was thrilled with the success of the spell, though slightly frustrated by how long it required to cast. Still, he accepted that its purpose was not for direct combat. While walking through the city afterward, Cheyion examined everything around him with suspicion. Rose noticed his focused expression and questioned it, but he simply brushed it off. Internally, he wondered why he had yet to sense anyone possessing the same magical aura that Marie and Rose carried. As the three continued their conversation, they noticed that monster numbers around the city were rising at an unusual rate. Marie, growing uneasy, suggested they visit Glass. Cheyion headed to Glass's workshop with his companions, where Glass welcomed them warmly and encouraged them to make themselves at home, since the day had brought few customers. When Cheyion offered to help with the metalwork, Glass declined and urged him to rest instead. Soon after, Glass presented the newly finished gloves, crafted specifically from leather and paper crystal. Cheyion was delighted and asked how they had been completed so quickly. Glass laughed and explained that Cheyion tended to destroy gloves rapidly, which only proved how much stronger and faster he had become. As they talked, Glass observed that the group seemed to be progressing well on their own. Marie mentioned that they were close to reaching the silver rank, surprising Glass, who could not recall anyone their age advancing so quickly. Rose reminded him that he and Jean had reached strong ranks when they were young, but Glass noted that adventurer guilds had not been widespread during their youth. During this, Cheyion tested his new gloves while Marie observed how many different forms of magic he was now using. He admitted that this was his intent. He wanted to learn and master more elements. When she asked what his next goal would be, he remained silent, leaving her to continue. She explained that their situation had improved entirely because of him. Without him, they would never have created magical lamps, and goblins might have killed them. She believed no one else could have achieved what he had done. Her words affected him deeply, and she added that the magic he discovered was remarkable and could serve far greater purposes than combat alone. This surprised Cheyion, and she clarified that their father always said magic had both positive and negative sides, but she felt certain there were many good uses waiting to be uncovered. Later, Cheyion trained with his father in an intense sparring session. Just as his father was about to win, Cheyion suddenly used a new earth spell that caused the ground beneath his father to collapse and swallow him partially. With this unexpected move, Cheyion secured victory. His father was stunned, asking how such a spell was possible. Cheyion explained that he had concentrated air into the soil, increasing its pressure and forming a pit. He admitted, however, that the physical movement required to cast such spells was exhausting and that he needed to improve his stamina. His father laughed and told him this difficulty was normal for a beginner, and that his growth was impressive, almost surprising to himself. Cheyion agreed, though he admitted the spell did not always function as intended. He mentioned his desire to eventually use air magic to fly, causing his father to laugh again and compare that dream to the freedom of birds. Marie soon arrived and requested her turn to train. Her fight with their father was equally intense, and Cheyion observed how much she had progressed. Her speed and sword technique were remarkable for her age, but her impulsiveness remained a weakness, allowing their father to defeat her. She fell in frustration, lamenting that she could never win and that Cheyion always defeated her. Their father reassured her, convinced that she would surpass Cheyion one day. She brightened at his encouragement and returned to practice. Curious, Cheyion asked his father about Marie's abilities. His father explained that she was exceptional for her age. Her physical strength resembled that of an advanced fighter, and despite being a child, she carried a talent that set her apart. Later, Cheyion and Marie met with Rose, who appeared embarrassed to ask for their help due to a shortage of workers. Marie assured her that friends supported each other, and Cheyion asked what assistance was needed. Rose explained that she needed help removing insects and worms. Cheyion handled the task easily, while Marie struggled, though the atmosphere remained cheerful and filled with laughter. By the end of the day, Marie admitted that she was exhausted and frustrated, feeling that she had not managed to eliminate many of the worms. Still, she vowed to try harder next time. Cheyion reassured her that he would help again, and she promised she would defeat more of them when the opportunity came. Suddenly, dark clouds filled the sky, and people hurried to find shelter from the incoming rain. In that moment, Marie collapsed and lost consciousness. Cheyion, shocked, rushed to her side, but she remained completely unresponsive. Panic spread through him and Rose as they carried her home immediately. Once inside, Cheyion checked her temperature and was startled to discover that her body was extremely cold. Their parents returned soon after and were overcome with worry. Sometime later, Marie opened her eyes, but she showed no signs of alertness or strength. Rose suggested that it might be the lethargy illness. Cheyon's father recognized it as the disease spreading recently in Asteria. She explained that victims collapsed mid-step and awoke motionless, consumed by an overwhelming sluggishness that gave the disease its name. The news left Cheyion stunned. His mother asked if Marie would recover quickly, but Rose explained that no one had survived the illness yet, since too little was known about it. The entire family fell into sadness, weighed down by fear for Marie. Cheyon's father decided to take Marie to a physician in Asteria and instructed Cheyion to stay with his mother. But Cheyion refused, insisting that protecting Marie would be harder without him and that it was better for him to go along. After some hesitation, his father agreed, and they departed. During the ride, Cheyon's father urged him to stay close and take care of Marie. Cheyion resolved silently that they would reach Asteria no matter what. Then Cheyion noticed a glowing red light he had seen once before. When he asked his father about it, the man claimed to see nothing. Cheyion realized that he was witnessing magical energy. Moments later, a pack of wolves surrounded the carriage from every side. His father identified them as blood wolves, relentless creatures driven by instinct to attack anything in their path. Cheyion urged his father to focus on steering while he handled the wolves. Though warned not to act recklessly, he began preparing his magic. He attacked the wolves one after another, while his father fought from the opposite side. Yet each time a wolf was wounded, another took its place. Just as Shyon tried to think of a solution, the wolves suddenly fled, disappearing into the forest. A strange wind began to swirl around them. His father questioned it, while Shyon, sensing something unnatural, insisted that they needed to hurry. A moment later, a terrifying magical creature materialized before them. Shyon, horrified, called out to his father, who again claimed to see nothing. This confirmed that the creature was a magical beast that only someone with magical perception, like Shyon, could see. The beast released a scream so loud and piercing that Shyon screamed with it in fear. His father, confused, tried to understand what was happening. Shyon, still terrified, attempted a magical strike, but the spell passed through the creature as though it were made of air. With the beast preparing to attack, Shyon remembered his encounter with the troll and attempted a direct physical strike instead. To his shock, the attack worked, and the creature reacted in pain. His father, who saw nothing in front of him, watched as Shyon fought seemingly empty space. The beast then flew over the carriage, aiming for his father, but when it brushed against the electric lantern beside him, it recoiled in agony. Shyon acted instantly, leaping with all his strength to deliver a final blow, killing the creature before collapsing from exhaustion. His father caught him and remarked gently on his recklessness. Shyon, apologetic, bowed his head, but his father refused the apology, acknowledging that they were safe because of him. They resumed their journey, and his father remained deep in thought, wondering about the strange creature. When Shyon asked if he had managed to see it, his father explained that he saw it only when it approached him directly. Shyon looked toward the lantern and realized that it had allowed his father to perceive the beast. His father stressed that they needed to hurry, as there was no guarantee such creatures would not appear again. When they finally reached their destination, they discovered that many people were suffering from the same illness as Marie. They rushed her to a physician, but he instructed them to wait their turn. Shyon, frustrated and emotional, insisted that they had faced storms and monsters to get there, but his father calmed him, saying that nothing more could have been done. Once examined, the physician confirmed their fear. Marie was afflicted with a lethargy illness, and no cure existed yet. Shyon, devastated, asked why a physician would simply declare helplessness. The man apologized but had no answer. Shyon, heartbroken, thought of his sister laughing, running, smiling, and tears filled his eyes as he wondered how someone so innocent could suffer like this. The next day, they arranged for Marie to stay in Asteria in a safe location while they searched for a cure. The space belonged to Glass, who had planned to use it as storage, but he offered it immediately upon hearing the situation. Shyon's family thanked him, and Glass, visibly moved, expressed disbelief that someone as kind as Marie could be struck by such an illness. His words saddened her parents deeply, and he quickly apologized, telling them to treat the place as their own. Later, Rose visited to check on Marie, who remained motionless in her sleep. Shyon sat beside her, speaking softly in hopes she would hear him. His father approached and said that someone wanted to meet him. Shyon, assuming it was another doctor, rejected the idea. His father corrected him and reminded him of the magical beast he had killed 4 days ago. Shyon, surprised at the passing of time, listened as his father described new attacks and unexplained deaths caused by what seemed to be an invisible monster, likely the same one Shyon had encountered. Realizing the danger, Shyon explained that their next mission was no game. It was serious and relied on information that was minimal and unreliable. He then met his new team and demonstrated his magic, leaving everyone stunned. As they walked through the forest, Rafina struggled under the weight of her armor. Suddenly, a goblin warrior appeared from the shadows, startling the entire group. They questioned why such a creature was here in this region. Bridget, excited, prepared for combat, while Rafina, irritated, shattered her armor and charged forward to show her strength. Shyon attempted to assist using his magic, but misfired and struck her sword instead of the goblin. Dust filled the air, blocking Rafina's sight. The goblin seized the opportunity and struck her hard, sending her crashing into a tree. It prepared to finish her, but Shyon intervened with a decisive spell. Rafina, regaining her footing, returned to finish the creature and hurled a pile of stones onto it. Shyon was startled by her ferocity. He asked whether she had ever seen a goblin like that, and she admitted she had only encountered normal ones. He sensed that the team was losing sight of the mission's true purpose. And with that, the story comes to an end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later. Goodbye.